Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm super excited today because we're going to be starting a new mini-series called Sourcing with Hahnbee, where I take everybody around to different places such as H Mart and Ranch 99 and show you what you guys can source as raw feeders. The first place I'll be taking everybody today is going to be H Mart, so let's get to it. So I got my mask on. We are at H Mart. We're about to head in. I just want to mention one thing before I do start showing you everything that I would get here, that H Mart is not a store that usually sells grass-fed finished meats. So all the meats here I am going to be showing you today are usually going to be conventionally raised, which is fine since not everybody has availability for grass-fed finished meats. I personally started out feeding all conventional meats, which is totally better than feeding kibble. The most important thing to remember is to do the absolute best you can. So the first place that we're going to start is the poultry aisle, since that is the main protein that people feed. So I'll show you their selection. If you are transitioning, they sell tenderloin, breast, thigh, pretty much every cut. The main thing that people usually get here are the feet, as they're not going to sell that in normal places, or not normal places, but I guess more grocery stores, such as like Sprouts or whatever. See, they also have the gizzard, and then they also have heart too, which is really great, and then liver, which is the most important part in any raw diet. And feet are a really great addition for bone broth, as they're really high in collagen, which is going to give you that wiggly jiggly texture every single time. Next up is going to be stewing hen. They're just basically mini chickens, which is really great for smaller dogs. You can slice it in 8 ways, and they're nice easy bones for dogs to chew. Continuing with poultry, they also have pheasant, and it comes with the giblets, so it's going to be things with like the liver, gizzard, sometimes even heart. They also have 6-pack quail, which is also great for smaller dogs. And then they also have silky chicken, which is basically the same thing as normal chicken. It's just black, which is cool for some people. Also more Cornish hen. For moving on from chicken, they have a really wide variety of duck. So they have duck wings, they have duck feet, again great for bone broth. They even have duck legs, so more duck quarters. They do have smoked duck, but I wouldn't recommend, since it is smoked. Usually that has added flavors. As you can see, all the ingredients added, plus it's not technically raw. Also found some boneless duck breast. It's a bit pricey, but if you wanted to feed it for variety, it could count as a muscle meat portion. Again, it is conventionally raised though, so it does have quite a bit of more fat, and it's going to be higher in omega-6s, but if this is the only place you have access to, you can feed it for variety. Next up, we have whole rabbit. This is the only rabbit I found in the whole store, so it is just skin and dress, so it's not going to come with any organs or anything. But again, it is great for variety, but it is, again, a little bit on the pricier side. Next up in the red meat section is going to be lamb and goat. So I do want to note that these are going to be machine cut, meaning that, as you can see, they're kind of in a perfect square, and they're going to include the bone and muscle meat, which can be dangerous for some dogs if they are gulpers. So it might be a good idea to let them thaw out if you are buying this, and just cut the muscle meat out and just use that portion rather than the machine cut bones, since it can have very sharp edges, as you can see right here, and sometimes be dangerous for consumption. We have quite a large variety of pork section. So first up, we have pork ears, which can be used as muscle meat, and also its chews more commonly. We have tongue, great source of muscle meat. Heart, which is really rich in B vitamins, counts as a muscle meat, and you get a lot for a pretty low price. Skin, which is great for homemade chews. You have feet, which is great for bone broth. Hocks, great for bone broth. And then most of this stuff is more for human consumption. It's going to be a little bit pricier. So they do sell this tripe, which I wanted to find to tell you guys about. As you can see, it's going to be white versus the green color that you see in my bowls and other raw feeders. Now, this tripe is different than the green tripe you usually see in my bowls because it's going to be bleached, meaning that it's going to be bleached from all its beneficial probiotics and enzymes to make it suitable for human consumption. I don't recommend feeding this as it's not going to have any of the benefits of normal raw unbleached green tripe. Next up, we have oxtail, which is great for bone broth. They also have leg bones, but I don't recommend giving just as a normal chew since there is a chance that they could crack a tooth, but it's great for bone broth and making homemade bone broth and is making it as nutritious and diverse as possible. Now we're going to be getting into the seafood section of the store. So here we have some freeze mackerel, pike, and then they also have just normal mackerel. And since this is already previously frozen, you won't have to freeze it in your freezer for 3 weeks like you normally would with wild caught fish, since it already has been pre-frozen. Here are some oysters, which is a great source of zinc, and since they are deshelled, you will not have to pre-cook them. They also have greenlet mussels, which are in half shell, meaning that you won't have to cook them as well. You can see they have some really great fresh smells already pre-packaged. The heads and tails are cut off, but again, if this is the only thing that you have, it's better than nothing. I also have a pretty wide variety of salmon. Most of it is farm raised, I do want to mention, which means it's going to be a bit higher in fat and calories than wild caught, just something to keep in mind, but they do have quite a large slaughter. They have a whole 5 pounds of sardines, or 2.27 kilograms, for about $13. It's a really nice price. There are going to be the whole sardines, and they're about the size of my hand or bigger. I have actually bought and used these before. I do want to make a quick note that usually the general guideline for buying foods is for the sodium to be under 100 milligrams per 4 ounce. So as you can see, this is under 100 milligrams, so it's good to go. But with seafood, this rule is more lenient since it is coming from salt water. I also have a very wide variety of fresh fish. Not all of it is going to be acceptable to feed. For example, this carp right here is going to be too high in the food chain to safely feed, but things like mackerel, and sometimes we'll have smaller fish such as smelt, and then you can also get it prepped and cleaned the way you like it. Usually I just ask for it whole though, since it's going to be for my dogs. So the egg section in H Mart is going to have more quote-unquote exotic proteins such as quail and duck, which you usually cannot find in your local grocery stores. They also do have chicken eggs, but those are more commonly found. The main ones I source here are usually quail and the duck eggs. The last part of the store I shop for my dogs is going to be the dried mushroom section. So I like to get these dried mushrooms as they're going to be shelf-stable, and I often don't use them fast enough to buy fresh ones all the time. So I'll either make my mushroom broth with these, or I'll add a few when I'm making bone broth to add an extra healthy kick. Alright, so that is everything that I usually have or would source from H Mart. I hope you guys found this video useful, and make sure to comment where you guys want me to go next to show you what I would source. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching, and always keep exploring.